1.
Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Luke Black and I'm the founder and director of Blue Beyond, an organisation which is trying to expand opportunities and improve access to the Conservative Party and the youth wing beyond SW1A and London to every single corner of our union. But you're not here for me or necessarily for my organisation, you're here to raise money for the National Bereavement Partnership COVID-19 Hub, which has been set up to provide support, services and counselling to those who have been sadly affected by this horrendous coronavirus pandemic. We're also joined by a whole host of fantastic MPs from all over the South West in Devon and Cornwall, and you'll be hearing through them throughout the rest of this evening. And we're also joined by even more special guests. We're joined by a very important political family, Muhammad Ali, who ran in Cardiff North, and also Nimco Ali, the fantastic campaigner for female genital mutilation. There are two teams that I'm going to show you some videos of shortly. One is called the Backbench Quizzes Committee, and the other one is called Robert Peel's Barmy Army, with some familiar faces from the last quiz and some top favourites amongst young Conservatives. So without further ado, let's have a look at some of these videos. We're going to start off and we're going to look at the Backbench Quizness Committee, led by Christian Wakeford, MP for Bury South.
Hi, I'm Christian Wakeford, the team captain for the Backbench Quizness Committee. I'd just like to introduce the rest of my team. So we have Chris Clarkson, Sarah Brickcliffe, Rob Roberts, Andy Carter and Guy Operman. Obviously, it's great to be back. We joined last time round for the first time ever and narrowly came second by 1 point. So this time we are here to win, even more so with my colleague from Bury North joining. We need to make sure that we keep all the receipts down in the south. So I'd like to start by paying tribute to the Blue Beyond team for organising the quiz, for the Devon MPs who are hosting. Certainly looking forward to experiencing some southern hospitality. But more importantly, it's not about the taking part, it's about the winning. So we came close last time, we're here to finish the job this time round. We've heard a lot about Team Jam or Team Cream. We are very much Team Jam, so we're doing it for the jam out there. But obviously this is a quiz to raise money for charity, so if you can dig deep, be generous and support a charity where you can. And let's bring it on.
3, 2, 1.
And then they are going to be joined by another fantastic team of MPs. This one is James Daly MP and a couple of familiar faces like Steve Baker. They are called Robert Peel's Barmy Army. Here's their video.
Hi everyone, we are Team Robert Peel. We're made up of a magnificent group of MPs. Myself, Catherine Fletcher, Mark Eastwood, Mark Logan, Steve Baker and Anthony Higginbottom. I want to say a massive thank you to Blue Beyond for organising the quiz tonight. I want to say a big thank you to my MP colleagues in the South West for hosting. I want you all to know that we are hashtag Team Cream if you want to support us. Most important thing about the evening is, as we all know, the fantastic charity that we'll all be supporting. So please follow the links in the description. We all know who's going to win this quiz. Robert Peel's Barmy Army are here to win, so let the show begin!
Yay.
3, 2, 1.
Amazing, fantastic. So we're joined by loads of special guests and MPs this evening, so let's get on with the quiz. Our first pub quiz host this evening is Celine Saxby Mp. Having studied mathematics at the University of Cambridge, she went on to found her own business, which she ran for 16 years. But that didn't keep her busy enough, so she went and set up another fantastic charity called Pink Aerobics, which used aerobics activities and classes to raise money for breast cancer charities. She raised £500,000. After doing that, she went back and retrained, and she taught mathematics at the secondary school in Devon. She was duly elected in 2019 as the first ever female MP for North Devon, with a colossal majority of 14,800 votes, which is 26.6%. So I'd like to hand over to our first fantastic guest and host this evening, Celine Saxby Mp. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke, and thank you everybody for taking part this evening in tonight's quiz. I'm very grateful to everyone who is here tonight. The National Bereavement Partnership is founded from my constituency here in North Devon by a remarkable woman called Michaela Willis. So thank you all for taking part. It's a great honour to be part of this with my colleagues from Devon and Cornwall. I hope you've got your cream and your jam the right way round. And I'm in charge of the first round this evening, which is exciting for me because it's sport. So for those of you that don't know much about me, I'm quite sporty. I've also been a fitness instructor for the last 25 years. And if I wasn't actually on lockdown now, I'd be out surfing or gig rowing. So I have got 10 questions for you tonight on sport, pens at the ready, technology at the ready. And if you can hear strange noises from my end, my Labrador George has decided he'd like his DINNER now and has started singing. So the accompaniment is George. And here we go with question 1. David Cameron famously mixed up his favourite football teams, giving 2 different teams on 2 different occasions. What were those teams? A, Aston Villa and Chelsea. B, Chelsea and Leicester City. C, West Ham and Aston Villa. Or D, Tottenham and West Ham. Everyone got that? Moving on. Question 2. The Olympics was a proud moment for our country back when we were allowed outside. But who was the first Olympics minister? Was it A, Pat McFadden, B, Tessa Jowell, C, Tony McNulty, or D, Jerry Sutcliffe? Question 3. Boris has found himself in all sorts of situations involving sport. But where was the PM when he accidentally tackled a 10-year-old boy in a game of rugby? Was it A, China, B, South Korea, C, Japan, or D, Indonesia? Question 4. The 2002 Winter Olympics came under heavy scrutiny after multiple scandals. But which US politician was sought after to bring the Games back on track? Was it A, John Huntsman, B, Al Gore, C, Donald Trump, or D, Mitt Romney? Question 5. Sebastian Coe was the former Conservative MP for Falmouth in the 90s, who went on to lead the London 2012 Olympic bid. Coe himself used to be an Olympic athlete in track and field. Which event did Coe compete in? Was it A, the 1500 metres, B, 800 metres, C, 3000 metres, or D, 5000 metres? And watching the chat, yes, the internet is a bit dodgy in Devon and Cornwall. I had an upgrade from OpenReach. I'd like a shout out to OpenReach. And the chief executive is also sorting Michaela's broadband. They're digging 4.5 kilometres to get her broadband so she can run the hub from Devon. So apologies if we're in and out. It doesn't usually have this much going on my computer. Question 6. Before becoming president, Donald Trump spent much of his time angrily tweeting about then President Barack Obama, including ridiculing how often Obama spent golfing. True or false? As President Donald Trump has spent more time golfing than Barack Obama. So which is it? True or false? Question 7. In 2008, whilst in Beijing for the Olympics, at the handover ceremony, Boris Johnson proclaimed "Whiff Waff is coming home." What is Whiff Waff? Is it A, tennis, B, ping pong, C, netball, or D, handball? Question 8. Jeremy Hunt is a man of many talents, not least of which is dancing. So what is Jeremy Hunt's dance of expertise? Is it A, the tango, B, the salsa, C, the lambada, or D, the rumba? And I actually knew that one is slightly worrying. So I did once take Jeremy Hunt on a tour of a series of dance studios during the campaign of 2010. So, sorry, I've been around a while. So question 9. In his youth, Gordon Brown lost sight in his left eye after an injury in which sport? Was it A, rugby union, B, football, C, rugby league, or D, cricket? And finally, question 10. 2016 was the year of the underdog, as in the European referendum league won an unexpected victory. The same year, Leicester City won the Premier League. But which team came bottom of the league table that year? Was it A, Norwich City, B, Newcastle United, C, Sunderland, or D, Aston Villa? So thank you all very much, and don't forget to donate now. I'm hoping somebody will rescue me.
Josh, have we handed?
Go now.
Okay, thank you so much, Celine, for reading the questions from our first round. I've learned a lot, certainly, about Jeremy Hunt. I've already had 3 texts in asking for some more information. I'm sure we could probably ask Celine if she's willing to give away that information. Sorry, that's the image of Jeremy Hunt ballroom dancing has rather tickled me. Anyway, so now, without any further ado, let's move on to our second round. So our second round is going to be introduced and hosted by the fantastic Simon MP. Born and bred in Plymouth, Simon had a long career as a radio host and TV presenter, working for various different regional radio companies, as well as also ITV. He even had a short stint working for the Foreign Office before being duly elected in 2019. He is also an MP down in Devon, and he is going to be flying the flag for Devon this evening in our sort of Devon versus Cornwall fight that we've got going on. Anyway, enough from me. I'm going to hand it to him now. He's going to be reading the questions for round 2. Thank you very much, Simon Jupp MP.
Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me this evening. It's a real pleasure to be here, as Celine said, raising money for a really, really good cause, and also representing Team Devon, which is the better of the 2 counties on show this evening. Absolutely. Because we've come first, both Celine and I, and then the Cornwall come, last. Anyway, I have the pleasure of doing the South West round. So the knowledge of the South West will be absolutely crucial in this. I note the people who put the questions together have given me some tricky pronunciations to make, of which I thank them graciously for doing so. So without further ado, let's get going. So the South West round, question 1. Tweed fan and all-round good egg, Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, has been the MP for the Cotswolds, which is a very nice part of the South West, since 1992. But what role does he currently serve in? Is it A, Treasurer of the 1922 Committee? Is it B, Secretary of the Carlton Club? Is it C, Treasurer of the ERG, or is it D, Director of Conservative Friends of Tanganyika? So that's question number 1. And given that I used to work for the Foreign Office, I sincerely hope I pronounced the last place correctly, though I fear I did not, judging by some of the faces on the faces of some of the MPs I can see at the moment. Anyway, question 2. Cornwall, really, has long been the centre of innovation, and until the 18th century, most patterns outside London were Cornish. Who writes these questions? Today, much of the focus is on renewable energy and eco-friendly businesses. Foursquare and Finisterre are both examples of this, as they make recycled clothing. But what do they recycle? Is it A, old dairy feed sacks? Nice. Is it B, disused fishing gear? Is it C, the old rope from tin mines? Or is it D, cider press meshes? I have some Devon cider with me this evening, by the way, because of course the best cider comes from Devon. So that's your question number 2. I've only had 1, by the way. Question 3. Which town was the Roman capital of the Roman province that contained the southwest? Was it A, Gloucester? Was it B, Exeter? Was it C, Bath? Or was it D, Cirencester? Give you a bit of time to think about that one. I've also been given, I think, the Roman names, which I am not going to try and pronounce because they would be impossible, as they look like they're written in wingdings. Question 4. What is Devon Wall? I'll repeat that. What is Devon Wall? Is it A, a wall built by Cornwall Council to mark the 1000th anniversary of the border between the 2 counties? Awesome. Is it B, a proposed constituency that merges parts of Devon and Cornwall? Is it C, a song written by Devon County Council in the early 2000s to the tune of Wonderwall? Or is it D, an intercity bus service between Truro and Plymouth? There's only one right answer there, but several of those I'd sign up to. Hopefully you're all ready for question 5. Apologies if I'm going too quick. I can't stand silence. As a former radio presenter, silence means that I've either broken something, the computer's gone down, or I've taken the station off air. So I can't stand it. Question 5. Who was the first MP to swear the oath of allegiance in Cornish? Awesome question. Was it A, Sarah Newton? Was it B, Scott Mann? Never heard of him. Was it C, Andrew George? Was it D, Candy Atherton? So, yeah, it's a great question, that one. And also, I have heard the Cornish language a couple of times. It is awesome to listen to. Don't understand a word. But I am from Plymouth, so there we go. Question number 6. Who were St. Piran's first disciples? And I wish my Cornish colleagues were doing this one because it includes a place I can't pronounce. Was it A, the villagers of Peran Zibolo? Oh, I can't. I have no idea, but I know I can see my Cornish colleagues laughing at me. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so that one. So B, the Irish cattle herders he grew up with. Was it C, King Gluvius and his court? Or was it D, a badger, a fox, and a bear? I do need to understand how to pronounce that because it is the Cornish village, because that's what I've never come across before. Question 7, and this is just one that you have to note down an answer to. Which county is Bristol in? Which county is Bristol in? Fantastic city. I used to live there for a while. It's almost a religion to eat falafels on a daily basis. Question 8. This is a really geeky one. I love it. How many councillors will be elected at the next Cornwall council election? Zip up your anoraks, everyone. Is it A, 123? Is it B, 87? Is it C, 62? Is it D, 41? That's a great question. I like that one. Hopefully all Conservative. I didn't say that. Definitely did. Question number 9. Which of these police and crime commissioners is a Conservative? Gloucestershire's is A, B, Dorset's, C, Avon and Somerset's, or D, Wiltshire's? Only one at the moment is a Conservative. And last but not least, question 10. BBC Regional News is a valuable licence fee service. I'm not doing an advert for the BBC, despite the fact I used to work for them. Which of these is not a BBC Points West or BBC Spotlight newsreader? Is it A, David Garmston? Is it B, Alex Lovell? Is it C, Nick Owen? Or is it D, Justin Lee? And that concludes the round from the Sidmouth contingent of East Devon. Thank you very much for your company. Hope you enjoyed that one. I wish I could answer all the questions without having answers in front of me. But thanks very much for coming along this evening and raising money for a really good cause. Thank you.
Super, fantastic. Thank you so much, Simon, for presenting that second round. We're now going to take a break, but there's plenty of things for you to do. On your Google form quiz, we have got some anagrams, and we'd like you to just type in what you think the right answer might be. There are only 5 of them, and our team have been working really hard on them, so I hope that you find them challenging. We've also got 2 videos from some very special guests that I'd like to show to you this evening. The first one that I'd like to show to you is from an MP that we did ask if he could come, but unfortunately he had other commitments. but he's extremely popular amongst the Young Conservatives for a variety of different reasons, I'm sure you'll agree. It's Mr. Johnny Mercer MP, who I've actually just read on Wikipedia, saved one of these MPs from an accident and a mishap in the sea. I'm sure he or she will be able to kind of talk and allude to that point a bit later. But anyway, here's the video from Johnny Mercer MP.
Hey folks, Johnny Mercer here, the Member of Parliament for Plymouth Moor View. Just really wanted to encourage you and wish you luck for your pub quiz with Blue Beyond. I love the idea of what Blue Beyond is about, you know, trying to expand what modern compassionate conservatism is, particularly outside of London. I think our party's in a good place, but we're going through a period of change, and I think the future's up for grabs, and I think organisations like yours do a really good thing. So I'm really pleased to support it. I hope the pub quiz goes well. I'm really good at pub quizzes, so I'm disappointed I can't be there because I'd probably win as long as the questions are really simple. But good luck. And
that you enjoyed that video. We've now got another video from one of our fantastic MPs up north, who she has sent in to us very kindly. Her name is Catherine Fletcher MP, and let's play the video now. Thank you.
Hello team, this is Catherine Fletcher from the Barmy Army. Couldn't find my England flag. I understand we're quizzing right now. Let me tell you, if it's the music round, I will be going, no, it's brilliant. I like that one. You know, I heard it first in a bar in Ibiza. If it's the science or technology round, I'm probably laughing. Come on team.
Thank you so much for sending that video in to us, Catherine Fletcher, who's also playing alongside her team this evening. Now, we're going to take a break now. So fill in the questions that we put for the anagrams there, pour yourself a drink, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't forget to donate as well to the National Bereavement Partnership. Thank you so much.
1.
Fantastic. Thank you. And thanks for rejoining us. And we're going to head on to our third quiz round this evening. Just a reminder, we are raising money for the National Bereavement Partnership this evening. Before the quiz started, we had raised already £280. So if you do have a couple of change to spare, please do donate. Just a reminder, we are raising money for the National Bereavement Partnership. Sorry about that. And now I'm going to hand over to our third fantastic MP. Cherylin Mccrory was born and raised in Scarborough, but she married a Cornish man called Nick, who spent many years working the fishing lines around the coast. She had a long career in IT project management, but whilst she was doing that, she's been incredibly passionate about things that I know that many young Conservatives are passionate about, which is the environment and protecting our beautiful landscapes, particularly the landscapes in the constituency that she represents of Truro and Falmouth. She was duly elected in 2019, and I'm really excited to introduce you to her and to hand over to her for the rest of this quiz. So, Cherylin Mccrory, thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us this evening. Firstly, I want to say thank you for donating. We've had 280 quid donated so far. And if you want to donate, there's a link just below here. We've had donations in so far from Liam James Dean, and from Kyle Evans, and from James Bowley, amongst others. And I also want to say happy birthday to Dan Sims. If you want to have a shout out, put your name on the chat and we'll try and get to you. I noticed earlier that some people in Scotland were having trouble with Simon's South West round. We're going to get serious now, actually. We've had the warm up. It's time for Team Jam. Get your jam on first and we'll get going. So it's the quotes round. This should level up for everyone in Scotland and around the country. Question number 1. Who said, "Nothing matters very much and a few things matter at all"? That's "nothing matters very much and few things matter at all." Was it A, Ramsay MacDonald, B, Arthur Balfour, C, David Lloyd George, or D, Stanley Baldwin? Have we got that? Question 2. Who said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself"? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Was it A, John F. Kennedy? Was it B, Dwight D. Eisenhower? Was it C, Franklin D. Roosevelt? Or was it D, Harry Truman? Yes, got the shout outs coming in for Team Jam. That's what we like to see. Question 3. Who said, "I'd like to see how your hair would fare in a blizzard"? They wouldn't like to see how my hair would fare in a blizzard. It's not pretty. But was that A, Hillary Clinton? B, and this is my only scary pronunciation, was it B, Amy Klobuchar? Was it C, Elizabeth Warren? Or was it D, Tulsi Gabbard? Can we have a shout out as well for Steve Baker and Jamie Hoyle, who've also donated this evening? And we've got someone coming on saying Penryn represent. Yes, that's what I like to see. All the Cornish people coming in. Question 4. Who said, "Well-behaved women rarely make history"? Oh. Was it A, Madonna? Was it B, Emmeline Pankhurst? Was it C, Laurel Thatcher Ulrich? Or was it D, Marilyn Monroe? Question 5. Who said, "The palace is not safe when the cottage is not happy"? The palace is not safe when the cottage is not happy. Was that A, Benjamin Disraeli? Was it B, William Gladstone? Was it C, one of our teams tonight, Robert Peel? Or was it D, Lord Palmerston? Okay, question 6. Who said anyone can govern a nation that has, I'm going to start question 6 again. Who said, how can anyone govern a nation that has 246 different kinds of cheese? Was that A, Emmanuel Macron? Was it B, our very own Boris Johnson? Was it C, Charles de Gaulle? Or was it D, Silvio Berlusconi? And that's Berlusconi with jam first. Question 7. Who said, one word sums up probably the responsibility of any vice president, and that one word is to be prepared? Was it A, George H.W. Bush? Was it B, Gerald Ford? Was it C, Joe Biden? Or was it D, Dan Quayle? How's everyone doing? We're getting there. Okay, so question 8. Who said to wear your heart on your sleeve isn't a very good plan? You should wear it inside, where it functions best. Was that A, Ronald Reagan? Was that B, Margaret Thatcher? Was it C, Barbara Castle? Or was it D, the very pink-trousered Michael Portillo? Okay. Jersey milk is the greatest. I'm not sure about that. Let's get on to Rodders about that. Okay, so who said, question 9 we're on now, who said, I believe that this is the first time that Parliament has discussed hedgehogs, yes, hedgehogs, since 1566? Was that A, Theresa Villiers, B, George Eustace, C, Rory Stewart, or D, Gaz Williams? They're very important. We need to discuss them more, actually. So don't forget, you can donate down here for the National Bereavement Partnership. That's who we're raising money for this evening. So although we're having lots of fun, we want to make sure that we try and get some money for the charity. That's the whole point of trying to do this. Question 10. Who said, a man is not a necessity, a man is a luxury, like dessert? Was that A, Judy Garland? Was it B, Barbara Streisand? Was it C, Jane Fonda? Or was it D, Cher, who, by the way, is really called Cherylin? And that's how we start Team Jam.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Cherylin, for hosting the third round of this quiz. I've learned a lot there, certainly about Cher. You can tell Marshall Tisdale with these questions. So let's move on. And last but not least, we've got the fantastic Scott Mann MP. And unlike the three sort of baby MPs we've got in here, Scott's actually for a little bit longer. He was elected in 2015 with a 6,000 vote majority, which he's increased over time to a fantastic 14,000. So clearly means he's doing something right. I can't say too much about Scott. He's actually the subject of one of the questions, some of the questions that we got this evening. But I can say this: he is a supporter of Plymouth Argyle FC. If you are big fans, and he's a born and bred Cornish man. So I'm going to hand over to him now. Thank you very much, Scott.
Cornwall, and let's try and raise a load of money this evening. If you can pile in the donations, your name will appear on the screen up here. And can I just give a shout out to one of the teams tonight, that's Quizzy Kwartang. One of my researchers, Callum, is on the quiz tonight, and that's his team name. Feels a bit like Eurovision, this. The scores are in. Devon have lost. They've got 0 points. And it's Jam first. So, you know, there we are. Question number 1. The Lib Dems used to have a number of MPs in Devon and Cornwall. So how many Lib Dem MPs were there in Devon and Cornwall prior to the 2015 general election? A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, or D, 5? That's question 1. Question 2. Which North Devon MP was involved in the Norman Scott scandal? Was it A, James Lindsay, B, Jeremy Thorpe, C, Nick Harvey, or D, Peter Heaton-Jones? Having a check on the chat as we're going through. Anyone wants to shout out, just message on the YouTube chat. Question 3, what is the combined number of Conservative councillors elected to Cornwall Council and Devon County Council in 2017? Is it A, 58, B, 68, C, 78, or D, 88? Oh, someone's put Sir Neville. Big up Sir Neville. Yeah, definitely big up Sir Neville. Which of these, question 4, sorry, which of these constituencies has the biggest numerical majority? Is it A, Sunalstall and Newquay, B, Torridge and West Devon, C, South East Cornwall, or D, Central Devon? Thank you very much. Question number 5. How many days did Torridge and West Devon MP Geoffrey Cox serve as the Attorney General? Was it A, 584? Was it B, 496? C, 322? Or D, 612? Question number 6. Nancy Astor was the first female MP to take her seat in the Commons. Which constituency did she represent? Was it A, Plymouth and Devonport, B, Plymouth and Sutton, C, Tiverton, or D, Torquay? Checking my questions. Speed all right? Everyone happy with the speed? Looking on the YouTube, doesn't seem that anyone's having any problems with the speed of the questions. Right, question number 7. How many Devon and Cornwall MPs are currently government ministers? A5, B4, C3, or D2? Oh, I'm being told to slow down. Okay, I'll slow down. Oh. Okay, question number 8. All of Cornwall's MPs are currently Conservative. Yes. Who was the last Labour MP to represent a Cornish constituency? Was it A, Candy Atherton, B, Harold Heyman, C, John Dunwoody, or D, Tom Horrobin? Right, number 9. Which of these Devon constituencies has not had a female MP since its creation? Is it A, Tiverton and Honiton, B, Torridge and West Devon, C, Plymouth Moorview, or D, Torbay? Someone said they're stuck on question 9, so I'll just hang on a minute. By the way, yeah, that introduction from Luke about the swimming thing. So yeah, it is true that that Johnny Mercer did save my life once, and he dines out on it every time he speaks to a Conservative association. Just thought, you know, worth bringing up. Question 10, this is the one about me. So I don't know who wrote this. Scott Mann is an excellent MP for North Cornwall. I don't know who wrote that. What was my job before I became elected? Was I A, a butcher, B, a baker, C, a postman, or D, a milkman? That's it. Signing off from North Cornwall. Thank you all very much. Please donate, get your name in the box.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Scott Mann MP. I'm so sorry making you relive something like a sort of an Apocalypse Now style flashback to the time that Johnny Mercer saved your life. But I'm sure he enjoys regaling that story when he's touring Tory Association dinners. So, as any of you know me, I absolutely hate surprises, and there's a surprise this evening, as per this request, kindly organised by Mr. Rob Roberts MP, the new Conservative MP for Devon. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I've been asked to open a link that's been very surreptitiously sent to me by one of my team, and apparently it's going to also be streamed onto the stream as well. I've got absolutely no idea what it is, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to have to make sure my sound's on my phone as well. So, Josh, I'm going to open it now, if that's okay.
Hi, good evening. This is Rob Roberts, the MP for Devon in North East Wales. Just wishing everybody luck for this evening's quiz. Hope it all goes well. I'm just recording this from my office in Westminster. Give you the little tour here. The chairs.
This is very cute.
Assistant's desk over there. Look at that. You've had a virtual tour of my office, and obviously the dragon on the wall and my ties, which I don't like wearing. Just wishing everyone a good evening. Hope everything goes well with the quiz. It's a really important thing that Blue Beyond are doing.
The Welsh flag on this video. That's very sweet.
Out across the country rather than being stuck just in the little Westminster bubble that we have here. But I thought it would be much more interesting if we got someone a bit more high profile than me to give a greeting. So I made a couple of calls. And I found this guy who also wanted to share a message. So that's enough from me. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Rob, and congratulations to everyone at Blue Beyond who's taking part in tonight's quiz, and a particular congratulations to your founder, Luke Black. I think it's a brilliant idea, particularly at this time. We can't get together.
What the fuck? Sorry, what the hell? Oh my god!
The idea of Blue Beyond trying to take the Conservative message and make sure we link up with people from right across the
David fucking Cameron, sorry.
So well done and enjoy the quiz.
Make sure we link up young people from right across the country to support our politics.
Oh my god. Wow. Oh my god. I don't know what to say. That's incredible. David Cameron's the only reason I'm really in politics. It's my biggest inspiration. But fuck. Sorry, I keep swearing. That's so cool. If you may indulge me just for one little minute further, I got into politics because I watched him giving a speech at the beginning of the 2010 election across the river overlooking Westminster, and I was just so engaged by his idea of the big society as a massive lefty Tory, as many of you know. Anyway, God, I've been thrown off now. I can't even remember what is next on the schedule. Sorry, 1 second. We've got a video coming up next. It's another fantastic video from one of our fantastic MPs. It's from one of my favourite MPs. It is from the fantastic MP for Hexham, which is Guy Opperman. So enough from me. I need to go and have a drink. Thank you.
One.
Super, thank you. That concludes our quiz. So we're going to have another break now whilst we have a look at the test answers. We conclude who has won this election. I calmed down from my little fanboy moment earlier. And also we prep our Q&A session with our fantastic group of MPs that we have got this evening. I really hate the sound of my own voice, so I'm going to tail off here. So we've got a 5-minute break now. Check your answers. We're going to be submitting them and marking them imminently in the next minute or so. Thank you so much. And don't forget to donate to the fantastic charity.
Hi, Guy Opperman here, MP for Hexham. Really well into lockdown now, trying to stay safe. Hope you are too. Please donate, get involved, and my massive thanks to Blue Beyond.
Hi, welcome back to the Blue Beyond Virtual Pub Quiz. We're raising money for the National Bereavement Partnership, which is something that we'd like to focus a little bit on now as we are starting to mark the pub quiz. It's an absolutely fantastic charity, and I'd like to pass over to the fantastic MP, Celine Saxby, who's going to talk a bit more about the charity, why it's been set up, and its history. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luke. So the National Bereavement Partnership Hub was set up by an incredible woman called Michaela Willis, who 2 weeks ago contacted me. Michaela lost a child herself in the Bristol hospital organs scandal back in the 90s, and set up a bereavement partnership helpline then that helped the families there. She was contacted by NHS workers in some of the hospitals who are currently dealing with COVID-19 patients. She is a leading expert in this particular field and has now set up 50 volunteers who are answering calls for any families affected by bereavement through the COVID-19 crisis, any families who's lost loved ones who've been unable to say goodbye, because there's a lot of families with people in hospital right now who aren't able to visit. And she's also there for our NHS workers who are obviously dealing with and seeing the most incredible things. So I know it's not the most cheerful topic for a Friday night pub quiz, so apologies for that, but if you could find something in your back pocket, because we're very lucky here in the South West, the rate of infection hasn't been quite like the rest of the UK, but I know a lot of you are in places where you are losing loved ones and friends. So please dig deep. Thank you very much for the time, and thank you for joining us all this evening. Thank you, Luke.
Amazing. Thank you so much for giving the overview to this absolutely fantastic charity. As I said, please do dig deep if you can, and even just £1 will make a huge difference. So, whilst my amazing team that helped me run this organisation are marking the papers, we're going to now enter a Q&A session. We're going to start off by quizzing our absolutely fantastic South West MPs from Devon and Cornwall. The way we got these questions, we sent out a Mentimeter, and the Blue Beyond members, you guys asked us questions, and we picked our top favourite ones for this Q&A session. After we've quizzed our amazing MPs in Devon and Cornwall, we've also got some other MPs. I'm actually on I can't even count that many. I've never been on a Zoom call with this many MPs obviously in my life before, but they're all here and they're all going to be asking some other questions as well. Anyway, so enough from me. Let's get on with our first batch of questions. So we're going to go firstly to, if I can get the questions up, to Celine Saxby. You are our first respondent. Sorry. Here we are. First question. Celine, so if you could introduce any 10-minute rule bill, and actually also if you could maybe just briefly explain what a 10-minute rule bill is as well, what would it be on and why?
Okay, so my 10-minute bill would be to introduce carbon budgeting service. So one of the things I'm aware of as we come out of this particular crisis is that people are going to need to travel to the South West, and they might be a bit reluctant to come down here on a train or a coach. And therefore, we are very environmentally friendly down here in the South West. So I'd like some sort of carbon budgeting scheme. So if you do have to drive and see this when we are in the hashtag come back later phase, once we're through that and you can come back, that you can offset that money, or that not even just the money, the actual carbon footprint that you have coming to the Southwest by doing something fabulous for the environment when you get here, because it's actually really hard to offset your carbon footprint, and we're very big on the environment down here in North Devon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Celine. It's a fantastic idea. I'm sure a lot of the Beyonders are passionate about the environment. We're now going to move on to Simon Jupp MP, and we've got a question here, which is a question a lot of our members have been asking is, what is it that you think that can be done to try and engage more younger people into the Conservative Party?
Well, firstly, I think we've really upped our game in the last year, 18 months on social media to make sure that the messaging we're doing, the things we're doing, the policies we want to deliver are actually engaging properly with generations of all types. So it's not just in your local paper, it's also on Twitter, Instagram and everything else. So social media is a big part of that. It's also about making sure that events that we hold, events like this, which is a really good example of engaging young people, do actually get more people on board and are interesting. It's not all about coffee mornings. There's loads of other things we could do as a party. But in order to do that, and in order to keep the faith of our young people and their vote as well, we as a party and the government need to make sure we deliver, because without delivery, people can't buy into anything. So it's about standing for a manifesto like we did last year, which we deliver on, because then people can actually keep the faith and make sure they have a real idea of what we're going to do, what they can be part of when they join our party, and the change for the good of our nation we can do. I think that's really been highlighted in the last couple of months, and even the last couple of weeks. The things that this party has done in government to secure this nation in the biggest pandemic we've had in living memory, and certainly in modern times, has been amazing. And I receive an awful lot of people's emails saying, you know, you've saved my business, you've saved my job, etc. So it's about delivery. So social media is fantastic, events, brilliant, but overall, politicians need to make sure that we deliver for the people we represent.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Simon. That's an absolutely fantastic answer. It's really kind of reminded us of why we're all here this evening and what we're trying to raise money for. Amazing. I'll hand over to our next MP, which is Scott Mann. Another great question here. So one specifically was for you. We've been asked, what is it that motivated you to become a Member of Parliament, and who is your political idol?
So great question. Had no interest in politics until I was 29. And I was trying to secure a house in my hometown. Many places in North Cornwall, you need about 10 times your income to buy an open market house. At the time, we had a Labour government, and they seemed to want to build houses for people that were out of work. And I was working 2 jobs and didn't really think that the government were doing enough to try and support me and help me get on the property ladder. So I walked into my local Conservative association and became the youngest Conservative member of my association by about 50 years. And yeah, that kind of started a snowball of getting onto the local authority, changing the affordable housing criteria, and then finding myself in a position where I was selected to be the Member of Parliament. So that was that. In terms of political idols, I'm a free marketeer and a libertarian. So I look up to people like Ronald Reagan, the boss, the PM at the moment, superb libertarian, and someone that genuinely believes in free trade and open markets. So it would have to be those 2 people, really. And I've also got a soft spot for people like Liz Truss. And you heard from David Cameron earlier on, when I heard him talk about aspiration and, you know, driving people on. That was kind of my inspiration to get involved in politics.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's going to be getting all of the neoliberals in Blue Beyond excited, and all of the 1828 readers will be absolutely loving that. Fantastic. Thank you. We're going to hand over now to our 4th fantastic MP from the South West, Cherylin Mccrory. This question is a really, really good question, actually. What was your favourite moment of the 2019 general election campaign?
Okay. Yeah, that is a really good question, actually. For me, it was a really quick campaign because I was a candidate for no more than 5 weeks, almost to the day, which I think some of us on here, I wasn't the only one on here actually that had that experience. So for me, it was firstly being selected, because that was just such a huge thing in my world. We didn't really expect it. I thought I'd go for it and see what happened and maybe use it as a bit of experience. But then Truro and Falmouth Conservatives only went and selected me. So suddenly we're in this world, and so that was kind of the start of it. And I have to say, even though we all worked our socks off, my highlight was actually hearing the results on the night, because after the purgatory of the Parliament of the last 2 years, to see that the British public had seen right through it and finally made a decisive decision to put us where we wanted to be, to deliver on the promises we'd made to them, that was just such a huge thing. So it wasn't a personal victory for me. It was a victory for Parliament as a whole, an institution that I absolutely love and adore and have done for the last 25 years. Finally, we could move it forward, and finally we can move this Parliament forward. So for me, that was a massive highlight.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Cherylin. I'm sure a lot of people in Blue Beyond would echo that. That sense of relief is something that a lot of people after that election. And I know I felt that as well. So I just want to thank now all of our absolutely fantastic MPs from Devon and Cornwall who've helped us with this evening. I'm hoping that they stay on the Zoom call now because we're going to ask a couple more questions of some other friendly faces, and then we're going to open up into some more relaxed questions. And please do get in touch if you have anything you'd like us to ask. So I'm going to ask a question of somebody that people are really excited to hear from this evening. And it's specifically around this in the question. I'm going to hand over to Steve Baker MP. And the question here is, what was the most difficult challenge for you when you were the chairman of the ERG? Let's open up some old wounds.
Yeah, old wounds. I've been trying to forget all the hardest things. So thanks very much for that question. I was chairman of the ERG twice, of course, but the very hardest things we had to do, like MV3, I was only the deputy chairman. But if I can answer the question, what was the hardest thing in this whole journey over 5 years? It was trying to hold the Conservative Party together. And that was the reason I became chairman of Conservatives for Britain. I knew if I did it, I would try and hold all strands of opinion, at least being civil to one another. So I did the first blue on blue of the campaign against Damien Green. And later on, Damien and I found ourselves doing the Malthouse Compromise. So it's just a couple of examples. I'd like to think that Damien and I and Nicky Morgan and Jacob and others all worked really hard to keep our party together. And if you look at where we are today, what an incredible thing. People were worrying throughout that 5 years that we would have a Corn Laws-style split in the Conservative Party. And instead, we've got an amazing degree of unity. We've left the European Union, and we've got a large majority. So, yeah, I know there are people who don't like that we've left the EU, but we've got a future relationship to negotiate, which if we can deliver it, we can all be comfortable with. I feel quite confident. So I'm quite proud of my role in trying to hold the Conservative Party together, but it was a very, very hard thing to do. But I guess the hardest thing was MV3 when I was deputy chairman. But I hope that's an adequate answer.
Thank you so much, Steve. I can't help but beam hearing you talk about that. It's fantastic to be in the position that we are now. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand over now to James Daly MP. A lovely question here is, how have you been able to build a relationship and sort of engender trust with the constituents that you are now represent?
Well, it's Daly to start off with.
Oh, sorry, Hanan's been saying Daly.
How dare you? Well, I'm going to do exactly what the politician does and answer a different question, Luke, if that's okay.
That's absolutely fine.
Because the thing is, you see Bury North behind me, Luke, and can you imagine, given the opportunity to represent the most beautiful constituency in the country, and it is here behind me. So, Luke, what I want to say to you, the most important thing is I need to see you in Bury Market when we get through these difficult times. Black pudding all around. I need everybody who's watching this to get on right into the EFL and the Football League saying you're not fit for purpose. Bury Football Club needs to be back in the Football League. And one of the things, Luke, which I know from looking at your face, is we need to encourage everybody to come to Bury, the jewel of the North. Whether it's sightseeing, whatever you want, we've got everything here. So the question I know that you wanted to ask me was, why do you represent the most beautiful constituency in the country? How lucky are you? And what lovely people there are in Bury? And I can only confirm and answer in the positive for you, Luke. So I shall see you 5 weeks' time, Luke. We will be here on Devon, on Bury Market, having a wander around, and it'll be fantastic.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, I kindly accept your invite to Bury. Apologies for pronouncing your surname, I'm mortified. We've got bags of members in and around Bury, so I'm sure we can come up when we're allowed to leave the house and just see the beautiful constituency that you represent. And maybe even bump into your colleague, Christian, down in Bury South, who I've told very passionate about constituency too. I've got a shout out here, another shout out for somebody who's just donated a fantastic sum of money to the charity, Amelia Palmer. Thank you so much for your donation. We're now going to move on to another fantastic MP. We're going to move on to Mr. Mark Logan MP. So there's another question here. There's a fantastic question. So besides obviously Brexit and the current challenge of coronavirus, what other issues do you think the government needs to tackle urgently?
Well, it's a great honour to follow on from James Daly. I'm just thinking of Dali, actually, the artist, James. And before I answer your question, I'm much more sincere than James, so I will answer your question. But I should say that Bolton, next door to Bury, is even more beautiful, and you must come and visit our market. Just look at it behind me. I think for me. And I know Steve Becker, that's on the call, amongst other people, will feel this as well, that one of the most important issues and why I'm in politics and one of the biggest challenge facing us after this pandemic is the strength of the union between the United Kingdom and its four nations. And I believe it's the four nations that make us what we are, our great 66 million people and its diverse culture. And it is, as the Prime Minister has said on numerous occasions, the greatest experiment or example of multiculturalism that this world has ever seen. So I think that we should be very proud of the United Kingdom, but we also must look to the future and find ways in which we as a party and as a government can actually push the bonds between the four nations. And maybe borrowing on Celine earlier on, talking about the 10-minute bill, and I think something I would love to see happening is trying to have some piece of legislation or campaign which would see school children, before they leave school at the age of 16 in all different parts of the UK, to visit one part of the UK and do some mini project on it. So someone from England going to Northern Ireland or Wales going to Scotland, because the stats just show we don't do very much internal travel domestically within the UK, but we travel so much across Europe and the world. So the union for me is very central to the present and the future of our politics.
Thank you so much, Mark. I just had loads of messages in just now of people saying they agree with you. In Blue Beyond, we are unapologetic union, and we're very proud of the union and very proud of every single constituency country that make up the United Kingdom. So that's really impressed them to respond.
I think. Look, just to come in finally, just to say quickly, look, is that I was asked this when I was selected as a candidate in Bolton North East. Was they asked me about my views on the EU and Brexit, and as I said then, and I believe this to this day, the most important referendum that we've had in the last few years hasn't been with the EU, but has been with Scotland's place in the United Kingdom, and that was the one that I felt very emotionally for. Was almost in tears on the evening of the Scottish referendum. So I think just it's great to hear so many great messages coming through on the YouTube feed in support of the union.
Not surprised by that at all. It's something that we're incredibly worried about. And whilst the election was absolutely fantastic, a lot of Scottish Conservatives were really worried when that exit poll came in, seeing all of those SNP seats and the prospect of losing some absolutely fantastic local representatives up above the border. So thank you so much. I'm going to move on now to a fantastic MP who's also elected in 2019, is Catherine Fletcher. I love this question. Have your expectations of being a Member of Parliament matched with what the reality of being a Member of Parliament actually is? Catherine, thank you.
Well, I think for all of us in the 2019 intake, we have this teensy-weensy thing that means that we're all conducting ourselves on this video conference, and we won't dwell on it. But I went to my first briefing on that with Professor Chris Whitty, who's I'm a biologist, and he's genuinely one of the most impressive scientists I've ever had the opportunity to spend 5 minutes nerding with. This is an ammonite. These are fossils behind me on the. We've been on the Science and Technology Select Committee. I could see him going, "Is that an ammonite?" in the background. But in all seriousness, I went to the first briefing with him at the end of January. So I had a whole 4 blissful weeks of being an MP before understanding, one of the greatest challenges we faced in a century was coming down the road. What did I expect being an MP to be like? Well, obviously I expected when you walk into the House of Commons to be greeted by people wearing loincloths, and offering you grapes and, maybe fanning you a touch. And then you would immediately sit down and kind of rewrite the laws of the country. What's most important about being an MP? It's about being totally grounded in your local communities. Well, that's exactly what this quiz tonight's just demonstrated, isn't it? You know, how proud the counties of Devon and Cornwall have come together to teach us something when we get to the answers round. And I'm similarly proud of being from the right side of the Pennines, otherwise known as Lancashire.
Wrong. No.
Yeah, correct. But
No.
Yeah. But the point, do you know what's genuinely fascinating, and I didn't expect, is when you meet everybody, we really are a truly representative democracy. You know, the big, short, left, right, up, down, views on this, regional from that, background of this, background of that. And when you put us all in a room and we really start fizzing, I think there's some great quote about high-performing team has maximum diversity within it to challenge the thoughts and views of others. And if I'm honest, that's the thing I didn't totally expect and have been delighted to find. There's not a homogeneity in the House of Commons. It's actually really quite an exciting place, although there does seem to be a lack of grapes and loincloths.
I wasn't expecting that loincloth.
You're going to the wrong meetings, Catherine.
Oh, Steve! Right, so an experienced hand to put me right. This is what I needed.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It's a fantastic answer there, and it is so important that we elect MPs that are truly local representatives. I think a lot of people will agree with me in saying that the new 2019 intake are really very much local heroes and dedicated local independents. So it's really great to have them on board. We're now going to move on to another fantastic MP, which is Mr. Mark Eastwood. This is a great question. A lot of our members in Blue Beyond obviously live outside of London. A lot of them live in the north, and they've been obsessed about this, which is, what are your opinions, Mark, about moving the House of Lords north, outside of London?
He's not here, Luke.
Oh, he's not here. Well, I'm going to then direct that to somebody else then. Because I mispronounced his name earlier, James Daly, would you mind answering that question?
Well, my esteemed colleague, Mr. Higginbottom, has got strong views on this issue. So I think you definitely need to ask him.
Okay, if you're dropping him in it, absolutely.
We talk about this endlessly, me and Anthony, so it's definitely the one to ask.
Do you know, can I just say, you asked a question earlier, is what is the proudest moment of the 2019 general election? Now, for me personally, the words, and Burnley has a Conservative MP. Exactly. It's genuinely one of the proudest moments of my life. Yeah. Welcome, Anthony Higginbottom.
I'll take that.
What an introduction. Anthony, do you mind answering that question? What do you think about a Northern House of Lords?
I think it's a great idea. I think it would be, it would show the new direction of the country, actually. I'm not sure we need to, permanently redesign our politics because I think it works pretty well. And, if you look back over the last couple of years and all the division we've had, and, Steve's talked us through it and how we've come back together, our system works incredibly well. But the House of Lords, I do think, has an opportunity as a revising chamber to move around a little bit more. And unlike MPs, we go back to the patch every single week. And, the last couple of weeks we're there all the time. I think the House of Lords could do a little bit to go and reach out beyond its usual place. So I think it's a great idea.
Shetland Islands. Move it to the Shetland Islands.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Anthony. We had our sixth and final planned question here. And I think it's a really good question. So I'm going to ask a couple, actually, because I've been hearing a little bit about how it's been and how hard your MPs have been working in this crisis. So I'm going to ask Celine and Scott this question, if that's okay. So what has your favourite memory been so far as an MP, and how have you been managing the workload? So I'll go to Celine first, if that's okay. So favourite memory as an MP, and how have you been managing the workload?
Favourite memory as an MP was definitely following the PM through the voting lobbies to get Brexit done in the pre-corona period, and then getting him to sign the bill. So that was definitely an afternoon to remember. Since then, is there a time that you don't work as an MP? I'm very impressed by some of my colleagues managing their time clearly better than me. It's the workload at this point in time. My constituents here in North Devon have a lot of questions about a remarkable range of subjects, actually, that apparently I now know the answers to. So yeah, thank you to my team while I have the opportunity to stay out on air for keeping me relatively sane and helping me through it. But yeah, it's obviously a very worrying time for a lot of people, and I wish I had all the answers, but I certainly am trying to get them.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Celine. Scott, same question to you. Favourite memory as an MP, and how you've been managing the workload all these days?
I'm gonna take two on the favourite memory. So the first one is the exit poll in the last election. After all the pain that we went through as a party, Steve will attest to this in the ERG. It was a really tough time for the party, and you know, to come through that and to get a mandate from the people after all that shenanigans in the chamber, I think that genuinely meant a huge amount. The second one is a bit more personal, really. So when I made my maiden speech in the chamber, I decided to put in on a Monday, which I thought was going to be quiet. There's about 250 MPs in there, and the whip kind of sidled along to me, and he just whispered in my ear, "Scott, you're going to be up at about 7 o'clock. If you could go out and get something to eat, you can come back and speak." So I came back into the chamber, and he said, "I've got some good news and some bad news." He said, "The good news is you're up in 3 speakers' time. Bad news is you're following Boris Johnson. Good luck." So that was kind of my favourite kind of memory of the Parliament. And in terms of the caseload, so we've had about 700 or 800 pieces of individual casework over the last 3 weeks, and I've got a small team of 5, including myself, and we've been working round the clock to get people back that are stranded abroad, businesses that are asking us very complex questions about the Sybil's loans and the grants from the local authorities. And it's challenging. It's really challenging stuff. But, you know, ultimately people need us at their time of need. And we're putting ourselves out to make sure that they get all the answers they need.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Scott. We're going to hand over to some of the questions that we've had coming in from Twitter. So my first question is for you, Steve Baker. So the first question is, was there ever a moment when you really worried that the party might split?
Yeah. I thought that we might lose, when people were having the whip withdrawn, I thought we might lose people from the pro-EU. And I didn't want that to happen. I've got lots of friends on that side of the party. So, yeah, but I thought we might lose some of them. But I never thought the Eurosceptics would split off. We would have had to have been thrown out.
Amazing. Thank you, Steve. Got another question here, alluding to the point that Catherine Fletcher was making earlier. Which seat were you the most surprised to see go blue? Obviously, there were so many. It was such a delight to see go blue. But which one personally for you was the one that you were shocked by in the election last year?
Is that too?
For you, Catherine.
Oh, shocked. Do you know what? I know shocked is the wrong impression, because even some of us had shorter campaigns, some of us had longer campaigns. But I went out every day speaking to people in the north of England, and I was trying to find these people that weren't voting Tory. I thought I was being a terrible politician because I couldn't find these people that didn't say Boris Johnson is marvellous, he's our man, we're getting on with this, we need to come together. You know, actually the scales have fallen slightly from our eyes. Yeah, no, we're voting Tory. And what they wanted to do was make sure that, you know, I was a northerner and I was representing my community. And after that, they were off. So I was delighted. I wasn't shocked, because honestly, this is the culmination of 20 years of hard work of people like everybody watching, as well as everybody on the video screen at the moment, saying what the opposition says about the Conservative Party is nonsense. We're just normal people that want to work hard, do right by our public services by making sure we've got a decent economy, and, you know, maybe have a pint of lager and watch the football afterwards, and don't believe what the opposition say, because it's absolute rude words.
Luke, can I just, in respect of that, can I tell you the shock that I had, and it was at about 4 o'clock in the morning on election night, when I was just about to start on my 3rd recount. If you want the definition of political pressure, go through 3 recounts and then have the chief executive of your local council tell you he's about to start a 4th. So I can tell you that about 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, I thought, oh my God, this is the end of night. But between 5:30 and sort of 6:15, it had turned around, and I've now got the monumental majority, which I know is going to impress you, 105. So when you look at these things, it's amazing. Politics can just change in minutes, literally in minutes. So, but I have to say as well, Mr. Higginbottom there in Burnley, I never thought I would see the day when Burnley would have such a charismatic MP. And thank God we've got one. The man is absolutely superb down there. And he's up there, should I say from me, up there.
I'm up,
He's lucky to have
I mean, more north than you are, James. It's true. That was, just to jump in, that was actually one of the biggest challenges we've got. And I think it's really a challenge we all had, certainly in some of our seats on the campaign, where you knock on doors and people say, I'd love to vote for you. I think Boris is great and I really want you guys to get in, but you can't win here. And the campaign for me was really a slog to try and just change that perception, because as soon as people thought there was a potential that I could win, or that we could win in any of these seats that we took, Redcar is an example, then suddenly the mood started to shift. And I think that's what swung it for us in the end, that people actually started to think, oh, these guys can win locally, even if it is the first time in 109 years for me. But, there was other places that were even longer.
And can I just add in there, thank you to everyone who's watching tonight from Blue Beyond who did take part and make that happen, because I was part of the 2015 campaign team in Gower that overturned 109 years of Labour rule by 27 votes. So I feel your pain. I lived through that one, and that is down to the work that young teams with young legs. The average age of my association, I think, is in its 80s. I phoned all of my association members that are in their 90s the first week of the campaign, and that took me a whole afternoon. So those of you with younger legs, very, very welcome, and thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you very much, Celine. That's a very kind message. I've got another question in here. Another one for Steve Baker, very popular this evening. It's nicely worded as well. Are there free market solutions to the housing crisis?
Free market solution to the housing crisis? Yeah, you bet there are. The fundamental thing about housing is that land use is controlled by the state through the Town and Country Planning Act. It was one of the great pillars of socialism. And I once led a debate in the House of Commons where I articulated the arguments of a book called Liberating the Land by Mark Pennington. Super free market approach, but using covenants to protect things like AONB and Greenbelt and so forth, but very free market. And I was thinking, wow, this is brave. I can't believe I'm doing it. And my constituents loved it. But anyway, I'll leave it to people to look that up. But the other aspect of the housing market, which drives up prices, which I've banged on about many, many times, is excessively cheap credit. And if you go and look at the data, the banking system lends money into existence, into housing, and up go house prices, with a regional distribution that sort of corresponds to their distance from London. So those two factors are both fundamentally to do with the state and intervention. And so, yeah, of course, there's a free market solution to the housing crisis, but we've got to make sure that it's not quite a free-for-all. It's liberty, bearing in mind property rights, rule of law, contract. And that means that solutions like Mark Pennington's in Liberating the Land not only could work, but they'd be popular too. I was amazed by the reaction that I had. So, yeah, I certainly believe there are free market solutions to the housing crisis. But my goodness, what a mess it is for young people today. It's one of the most important challenges we need to solve.
Thank you, Steve. You'll have definitely put smiles on some of the neoliberals' faces again with those points. I'm going to go now to, I'm guessing this one is for you, Cherylin. I'm guessing, I don't know who else it's directed to, is what is your favourite type of fish? Which I think is more of a jokey question, but could we maybe turn it into what is the future for our fishing communities as we leave the European Union?
Oh. There we go. Well, on message, my favourite kind of fish is a locally caught, sustainably caught fish. Yeah, for those that don't know, my lovely husband is a fisherman. He's an under 10 metre. He has an under 10 metre vessel. He hand lines most of his fish, so it's very sustainable. It's a hard slog, actually. So, luckily for us, now that I'm doing this, the pressure isn't on. But I have to say, if we hadn't been successful back in December, we'd be really, really stuffed at the moment. For those of you that aren't in coastal communities, the bottom's totally fallen out of the fishing market. I think they've lost about 70% of their market. What has happened, because Cornish fishermen are very industrious, they are now selling to anyone and anyone that they can. So, local, obviously the restaurants are shut, but a lot of them are doing takeaways, the pubs and so on and so forth. And so we're just, people are trying to get rid of the fish any way they can. My lovely husband, who is just fantastic, the first time he went out, he got a load of fish and he took it to 2 different villages, put a box in each village, put a jar next to it and said donations only. And any donations went towards the local volunteer groups that were getting shopping in for vulnerable people before the organised volunteers were getting involved. And I just think that's brilliant. So thankfully the government have done got a financial package in for some of the fishermen, but I have to say even that hasn't reached those that are on the bottom of the fishing scale. So those that don't land more than 10,000 a year, which is actually quite a lot of the under 10 fleet, they're still struggling at the moment. However, they're optimists, as you have to be if you're on the sea every day. So we see it going forward. I think we need to see what the negotiations do later this year. Obviously, they were supposed to happen in June. I can't imagine that that's going to happen on timetable. But they are keen. We have we're bringing the fish in. The fish is there. We just need to make sure that British people want to eat it. That's basically what's going on.
Can I just add on to that for Cherylin? So my fishing fleet's very small. I think it's only 6 boats, not as big as down with Cherylin. So I have been able to, for those of you who like your fish and can't go and collect it from the dock, the Cornish fishermen have a fantastic online site and you can actually order it anywhere in the country. So I have had fish online from Cornwall. So thank you, Cherylin and her fish.
Amazing. Thank you. Great question there. That's something that has been affecting some of our Blue Beyond members who do live in coastal communities. So I've got another question here, and I'm going to ask James this question, if that's okay. Do you agree that Labour MPs should now cheer Kia Kia instead of here here in the chamber?
Oh.
Well, it's amazing what's happening behind me, Luke, I have to be honest with you, because this is Bury at dusk. So this is the typical Bury experience behind me. So I just wanted to give you a flavour of what Bury's like, really. And although Keir is important, I just wanted to reference Simon, because Simon is sat, and I know he is, on Sidmouth Beach there. And Sidmouth, the world's best cricket ground, as Simon knows. And when we're talking about fish, which is an important subject, I'm hoping that when we go on holiday to Sidmouth and see Simon, hopefully, at some point, hopefully that restaurant at the end of the pier is going to be up and running, Simon, and we'll see you in there. So
absolutely.
I genuinely, Keirstone was of very little interest to me, but the delights of Sidmouth and the various skylights of Bury are that's what we need to talk about tonight, Luke.
Amazing, thank you. What a dedication to the extremely confident and enigmatic leader of the opposition, Keir Starmer. All right, we've got a couple more questions coming in. Some of them are sort of ranging in seriousness. We've got one here from somebody called Rob Roberts MP. I don't know if you heard him. The question is, why isn't the best MP from North Wales on the call? Everybody needs more Rob Dellin.
Why don't you just give him the dial-in details? I'm going to send him the dial-in details.
We'll be too busy on WhatsApp to be able to answer any questions here.
Or having a go at trolls online, which he's very good at. Much more patience than I do.
He's awesome at that.
Sending other MPs' contact details faster than anyone else can.
We've got some more questions coming in here. Let's see, what have we got? So here we are. Given that it's taken a fair bit of work to get Parliament to function remotely, would you support a review or an investigation into how Parliament can kind of discharge some of these functions in the imminent future? I don't know who wants to take this question. It's a real Anaraki parliamentary Hansard style question. Anybody up for it?
I'm happy to. I can't wait to go back. It feels fundamentally wrong to be doing this at home. I recognise why we're doing it, but really it's not the same. And we get an awful lot of work done in lobbies and talking to each other in corridors. And it's important that we follow the social distancing guidelines, but I am not supportive of this beyond the current pandemic.
Correct. I'd second that. I have to say, I think there is definitely a case to argue that we can get more real people into politics if we're more flexible. However, if you're going to get the work done and you're going to do it face to face, you have to be there. You have to be there. It's the only way to do it. And I say that as a working mum with a young child, and I still want to be in Parliament, making sure I get the best result for my constituency. And the only way to do that is to actually physically be there.
Thank you. Great questions there. I think a lot of people.
Can I interrupt with the results for you all?
Oh,
yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much for everyone taking part. The results have now been counted and cross-checked. I'm thinking, which order do I want to do this first? Do I want to embarrass the MPs or announce the winners? We'll go for first place at 38 points is the Pretty Good for Tories team with 38 points. And joint second, we had 3 teams at 37 points. The Pretty Good team, Coalition for Chaos, and Department of Quizness. And third place, before I announce the third place, I want to express my deepest condolences to the Robert Peel's Barmy Army for not making the top 3, and congratulate the Backbench Business Committee for coming joint third with 36 points alongside Ladbroke Grove and the Right Honourable Team for the 17th century. The rest of the results will be published over the weekend on our Twitter page.
Wow. Well, that's a real turnout for Bury South, isn't it? Sorry, James.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for the update, Hannah. And we'll have another 2 minutes of questions. We've already taken so much time out of these MPs' evenings, and they're working extremely hard. So I don't want to take any more than I really have to. They probably want to get off to their evening. So we'll have a couple more questions that are coming in now. So next question we have got here is, this is a really cool one. I'll ask, did we not say to Anthony, well, obviously you have met him, but what was it like meeting our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and did he live up to your expectations in person?
Was that one for me, Luke?
Yes.
What was it like? Surreal is probably the first one, because I think for most of the 2019 intake, we'd watched politics from a distance for a long time, and seen some of the shenanigans and thought, God, this is, we could do it better. But then, you go and meet Boris, and he's someone you followed through politics for, 10 plus years since he became Mayor of London. And what was he like to meet? I mean, his enthusiasm is so infectious, and the way in which he does his job. And I think, we've seen that through this, really difficult period, but he still got up at that podium, even when he was, sick himself. And it's absolutely right that he's taken a bit of time to get well. But yeah, his enthusiasm, his total commitment to the job, and his campaigning style is phenomenal. I don't think I've met any other, not just Conservative, but any other MP who gets that kind of reaction anywhere. You put him in the middle of a shopping centre anywhere in the country, and the crowds will come. And I don't know any other MP anywhere that would get that same reaction.
It's true.
Do any of you want to kind of build on that? Have any of you had obviously you've met him, but is that kind of representative of your thoughts as well?
Yeah. So going back to 2015, I had to take in the 2015 campaign Boris on a street walk through Chippenham, and literally it was supposed to be half an hour, and an hour and 15 minutes later we are still trying to drag him out. I always describe the PM as he reaches parts that other MPs and politicians don't reach.
Yeah, I mean, he's really, so we took him to a brewery, why not, a cider brewery, sorry Simon, but the best cider is made in Cornwall, and we took him there, and not only did he take the time to go and meet, so the people that run the brewery are very good, but they were obviously quite nervous that the Prime Minister was there. But the Prime Minister stopped and talked to the people that work there, just in the office and all the rest of it. They were just hanging out watching, and he stopped and he went and spoke to every single one of them. And when we went to a meeting room, he knew everything about the business. He knew about the guys that were running the business. He wanted to talk to them about it. He knew them all by name. He'd done all right. I'm sure he had like a brief before he got out of the car, maybe, but he took the time to do that. And when we walked around, there was big crowds because it's a tourist place as well, and wasn't a single person who had anything negative to say about him. Everybody wanted to stop him and say well done, which is great.
Thank you. It's a lovely answer. I'm just going to interject before we our last couple of questions. I'm being told that we've raised over £500.
Way!
So please do sponsor this fantastic charity if you can. So we've got 2 more questions. So the next question here, I'm going to ask who we not have. I'm going to ask Scott actually. Is the famous jerk chicken in Parliament all it's cracked up to be?
Absolutely, it is, yes. So there's a couple of dishes that I like to go for when I'm in the house. The jerk chicken is one, and the famous meaty wrap over at Portcullis House is absolutely legendary. So yeah, they're both fantastic.
Is it true that people apparently queue up to have it? I can't quite believe it. Is that true? Is it that popular?
It is, yeah. Yeah, in fact, my researcher that I had before this one, he used to look around all the different restaurants to see which restaurant in Parliament actually had the jerk chicken on, so that he could go to that one for lunch.
Amazing.
I don't think I've tried this meaty wrap yet.
Anthony, you don't know what you're missing out on. Honestly, you don't know what you're missing out on.
It sounds that way.
Is that the breakfast wrap, Scott, you're talking about? The breakfast wrap, where it's got all the breakfast in it?
Breakfast meaty wrap. It's like a burrito that's got sausages and hash browns and fried eggs. Fantastic.
It is a heart attack in a wrap, though, just to warn everyone. So, everything in moderation.
Fantastic. We're going to have one last question here, if that's okay. This one's for you, Mark Logan. What can we do to try and engage more young people, particularly between the ages of 16 and 18, so sixth formers, in the Conservative Party? So I think the question is sort of more phrased around how traditionally people tend to get engaged at uni, but is there any way that we can get them a bit earlier whilst they're at sixth form colleges and so on? He's on mute. I'm going to unmute him. Mark.
Yeah, I know that it's just the channel, but the best channel by far is TikTok. And it is actually a platform that I started using about 2.5 years ago in a foreign language, actually in Chinese, the version that came out way prior to TikTok. I've got one video on TikTok, and it has I think 240,000 views on that one video, and it is by far and away the best way to reach out to young people. So if any of our fellow MPs here on this is in any way cheesy. Actually, James, you've been quite cheesy tonight. You'd be good on TikTok. So definitely set up an account. And actually, I, personally, in terms of comms, I actually don't use Twitter during my campaigning and social media. So I just use Facebook, and I've completely cut out Twitter from everything that I do.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, Mark, that's two of the questions that we had is, when is Mark Logan joining Twitter? So,
I'm trying to avoid it.
There's a captive audience.
Facebook's where the audience is.
Amazing. I've actually, if you allow me one more question, this is from one of our special guests, Nimco Ali, the fantastic campaigner for women's rights and also against female genital mutilation. She said, who wants to come to Somaliland? And she's promised, if you come, she will buy you a camel burger.
Sign me up. I'll do that. That sounds awesome.
There you go, Nimco. Simon is keen for a camel burger.
Oh, dear.
And Anthony as well. There you go.
Sorry, I'm going to go back to Kashmir before I go to Somaliland. Sorry.
Show off.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm going to just round up. Stolen these guys for far too much of their evening already. I just want to thank absolutely everybody who's involved in this, be them MPs or be them members of my team or members of Blue Beyond that kind of make this happen. I might be the face of it this evening, but it really isn't just me. There's some amazing young people. And what I'm so passionate about is we've got people from all over the United Kingdom, from every single country in our union working on this. Politics doesn't have to be for those who live in London. It can work for those who live beyond SW1A. And we're just going to keep fighting that and keep engaging the party as much as we can. And also, just again to reiterate, thank you so much for donating to this charity. I know quite a few people of you sadly lost people who meant a lot to you. Every single penny for this charity is really going to make a huge difference. And so, yeah, just want to say a massive thank you to everybody. And also, particularly Josh McCauley, who is our tech lead, who's been running the entire show this evening. He's done an absolutely fantastic job. I just come out and say a massive well done, mate. You've really pulled it off.
Yeah, come on, big hand for Luke and the team.
Thank you, Luke.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers. Have a lovely evening.
Cheerio.